I'm Nick Stevens here at the Blockchain Innovation Conference 2019 in Amsterdam, and I'm standing here with Radoslav Albrecht from Bitbond, founder and CEO, in fact. You've just literally come off stage talking about some interesting new news from Bitbond. I got some notes here that you are offering basically small, medium enterprises loans that are securitized. And I think the most exciting piece of news is that these are now actually approved and regulated, right?
That's correct. So at Bitbond we have recently launched Germany's first security token offering. And what we're doing there is that when someone wants to invest into these loans, they don't need to manage their own loan portfolio, but they can invest into a regulated security, and it's a bond that we issued. And this bond is the first security token out of Germany. That means that the proof of ownership in that bond doesn't happen through a paper document like in the conventional world, but it's a digital token that represents this security. And so we were the first company out of 130 that got a securities prospectus approved for such a project in Germany.
That's quite impressive.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a journey, definitely.
How long have you been working on this?
So we kicked off the project in January 2018. So it's been over 1 year. And first we drafted a legal framework and a concept that we presented to the regulator in order to ask for feedback. Because in Germany, when you file a securities prospectus, the regulator has only 20 business days in order to give either a green light or reject it.
Or a no-go,
Exactly. And so that's a very short amount of time when you approach them with an entirely new project. And so we first came with a general concept before we handed in the actual prospectus.
And how was it like working with them? I mean, in some countries, you don't get to work with the regulator. You send it in, you apply, and you get yes or no and no feedback. So I can imagine working with a regulator in this kind of like draft proposal stage, for some of our listeners might seem completely alien, but is that normal in Germany?
It is in fact unusual in Germany as well. And most of the times when you approach the regulator with just a general question, they won't answer it because they normally want finished contracts, for example, that they either approve or reject.
And of course they can't steer your business too much either because they're the regulator.
Exactly, and they have to be neutral. However, since the regulator already recognized the fact that there are security tokens coming up, they have to form an opinion about it, and they appreciated the fact that we were willing to answer long-form questions in written form, which clearly was related to our project, but at the same time also did some groundwork with the regulator in order to educate them.
So they actually got a lot of benefit going through this process, learning much more about the whole securities aspect, ready for what is essentially going to become your competition or cooperating colleagues, perhaps, for the future. Wow, that's a healthy
what was
perspective.
important to them was to understand how proof of ownership on the blockchain works. Right. So this is a very, very general question. And so on the one hand, we had kind of the effort and the time to invest into answering those questions. But at the same time, we also benefited from it because we knew that when we submit our prospectus, the regulators already informed.
Because if they can't understand that basic level, there's no way they're going to give you a green light for the whole program.
Exactly.
Great. And you went live just a couple of months ago with the first variant, right?
Right. We went live in March. And the offering goes until the 8th of July. So right now this token offering is still ongoing. And investors can go to bitbondsto.com and invest into the BB1 token, as we call it.
And how much have you got in so far?
So far we raised 2 million euros from it.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
And how far can you take it?
So in theory, the cap by the prospectus is 100 million. Our goal is to get to around about 3 to 5 million.
Okay, and you're right on target.
Yeah, so far we're on target.
Great.
But we're still working hard, of course, on bringing in more investors and getting the word about.
And so if we got somebody watching who thinks, oh, that's interesting for me, I got some money, I like to invest, I like to help particularly the small and medium enterprises, they go to your website, kind of top level, how does it work? They put in a bunch of money.
So it's relatively simple. You need to register on our website on bitbondsto.com. Then we ask you how much you want to invest, and we need to do a KYC check because we're legally required to do that.
For our viewers who might not know, that's a know your customer. So you have to know who that person is, or that organization.
Exactly, because we need to know where the funds are coming from, because since it's a regulated security.
No money laundering, no whitewashing.
Correct, exactly. That's why we need to do these checks. But for an investor, it's a relatively lean process. And then after they have completed that, we show them the payment details. Once that is done, they need to wait until 8th of July when the offer period is over, and then they will get their tokens distributed.
So pretty much like a crowdfunding campaign as we know it today, but
Correct.
but for serious things
Exactly.
and not toys.
And you receive a token that's a real security, but that is extremely fungible, that you could send to your friend via your digital wallet, or that you could trade through an exchange.
Yep. And does that security increase in value over time? Do you have a perspective on how that's going to work, or are you not allowed to talk about that because it's investment advice?
So you can look at what the price evolution is of bonds,
Yep.
right? So our token has a lifetime of 10 years, and normally if you look at bonds, their price at the beginning is above par.
Yep.
Par means the nominal value of one BB1 token is €1 today,
Yep.
which means that after 10 years we take it back for €1 again. And in the meantime, we pay out interest payments
Yep.
to the token holders. And so since the interest payments are yet to come, normally the value of a bond at the beginning of its lifetime is above par. So in our case, it would be above €1. And then towards the end of its lifetime, towards maturity, it tends to trade at par, so
Yep.
around about €1.
But in the middle, it goes up and down.
In the middle,
and
it
you
can go
take
up and down, depending on how the interest rate markets work,
Yep.
depending on the expectations on the success of our company.
Yep.
Yeah,
And this is absolutely definitely not investment advice.
not at all.
You get to travel around to quite a few of these conferences and tech and innovation type events, and I think you're pretty well known in this world. What have you been seeing lately that intrigues you? Something that maybe is changing, or a new technology that's coming up that you think, that's interesting?
So the blockchain is a technology which is at the core of, for example, our token offering, has evolved, I would say, over the last years. What's new to me right now is that there's almost like a merging of the conventional financial world, which is highly regulated, which had relatively slow processes,
Yep.
and there's a good merger between the two worlds. So the fact that we're seeing more and more security tokens coming up, Bitbond is not the only one anymore. Of
Yep.
course, there's more and more security token offerings coming up, and I think that's a good thing because we're combining established legal frameworks that investors know, that investors appreciate, with technologies that allow us to leverage efficiency gains, that decrease the costs, that take out a couple of intermediaries in the issuance process. And so I think the merging of the fast speed and the high innovative power of blockchain technology with established legal frameworks, I think that's a really good thing, and I'm really intrigued by the fact that this is now happening.
And it feels to me like we've been waiting years for this to happen, and we can talk about the old guys being slow, but of course this is the world of finance. It doesn't need to go far, but it feels like it's really picking up speed now, right?
Absolutely, it is picking up speed. There's a certain slowness inherent in the process, which is to a degree there by design.
Yep.
It's well known to everybody that regulation slows down things,
Yep.
but that's there for a purpose.
It keeps us safe.
But at the same time, the speed is picking up now because banks and regulators have understood the technologies, starting to use them, and I think now we're entering into a phase where both the consumers and the banks and the issuers and startup are profiting from each other.
So is that good for companies like you? Because obviously, you're on the bleeding edge. You're the ones who are proving it can be done. You're the ones putting in all the blood, the sweat, and the tears to make it happen. And now all the big guys can come in and go, hey, look, it works. We can do that too.
I still appreciate the fact that there is this movement ongoing, that also the big guys are using it, because to many conservative and more established companies, legitimacy also comes from a certain level of adoption, right? And at the same time, what's happening right now is that bigger companies, bigger issuers are approaching us, Bitbond, and asking, well, the technologies that you've built for your own token offering, can we leverage that? We actually don't want to replicate it. Why can't we just buy it from you, right? So we're actually benefiting from it.
So was that a business model you saw a couple of years ago when you started this, or is that something that's kind of now emerging and you're thinking, that's
this is something that I didn't see, to be honest. I mean, at the end of the day, it's to a degree logical, but we haven't really thought about it because we have been focusing on our core business, the SME lending platform, and how we can leverage technologies for our purposes in order to be more efficient. But I mean, at the same time, it's the logical next steps that if we have created something that's really useful, that others will also want to be interested in it.
So that sounds to me like the perfect invitation. If you're a large, more traditional finance company who's looking to get into securitized token offerings or anything in that world, come come find Red, do some business, get going as fast as you can, and let's change the world of finance. I'm here at the Blockchain Innovation Conference in Amsterdam. This is Red from Bitbond. Thank you. Bitbond, right? Yep, Bitbond. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Enjoy
It's been a big pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.